All right, everybody, welcome. It's Monday morning. I'm fired up. December 7th, 2020, and we are fresh off the heels of the FloWrestling Tight Mercury RTC Cup. And David, you weren't there. You had some family responsibilities or whatever this weekend, but you did obviously watch. I'm assuming most or all of it.
All of it.
What'd you think?
It was great, not just because there were awesome matches, not just because almost every dual meet came down to the last match, but because it's a kind of event that makes you wonder, like, what does this mean for future events moving forward?
Yeah.
And, what if this team or that team would have been there? What if in the future an event like this, has some weight to it and everybody's like, building towards an event like this all year. And so it just was one of those events that it has, I think, a lot of people's wheels spinning. And I'm one of them where I'm like wondering what if we had another weight? What if we had a couple weights?
Yeah.
What if it's all 10 Olympic weights? I mean, non-Olympic weights. So it's so much to think about in terms of where do we go from here? And that's awesome.
Either team matchups, team-wise or individually, what things jump out off the page at you as you look back at the weekend?
I mean, some of the guys that maybe we weren't expecting to go undefeated. Pantaleo looked really good. We didn't get to see him and James Green or him and Yanni. Those matches would have been great. But Carson Karchla, I mean, all of a sudden you got to wonder, like,
one of the most impressive performances.
Where's that kid in terms of the NCAA ranking? I mean, he beat, not ranking, but where's he going to fit at the end of the year? He beat the NCAA champ from 2019 and looked great. So he looked outstanding. Yanni and Vito with 2 wins each over Nahshon Garrett and James Green respectively were really impressive. And then of course the heavyweight stuff, like what's this going to look like in the Olympic trials? Gable, Mason, and Gwiz all outstanding, and they were all they all had great matches. So yeah.
Super excited. We got that one that just finished up. We got the 8-man 150 coming up on December 18th, and we got Anthony Ashnault wrestling that. And Anthony's going to be joining us today from New Jersey, I assume. Anthony, how you doing? All right. Is he unmuted?
Doing well, man. That was an exciting event last weekend. With
Can you hear us, Anthony? Everything worked great up until this point. Yeah, I can hear you. It's cutting up a little bit, but go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was cutting out, but I think I got you now.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was perfect in the warm up.
I know.
Seriously.
That's how it goes. You gotta plan for the unexpected.
Yeah.
But I thought these duels were great, man. And you guys just talking about them, that was awesome as a fan of the sport, watching from home, watching from my phone, traveling, or coaching the Rutgers and the little kids up. But
Yep.
Watching on my phone in between sessions, it was awesome, man.
I love it when the internet works perfectly, and I don't love it when the internet doesn't. It's kind of
down the weight wrestling against Yanni.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're gonna try to get Anthony fixed up here real quick, but I guess, and he just mentioned, right, James Green down to weight was different, right? And how was he gonna do? Was he going to make weight and be effective? Was he gonna wait and look like crap? I think he was effective.
Yeah, and I mean I thought the second match with Yanni, you could tell he hadn't. He had been off the scale a little longer, and he looked maybe a little fresher, and so that version of James Green, the one that's not fresh off the scale, is of course going to be even better. But even right off the scale, I mean, his match with Echemendia, he needed a score late, and he did in a big way.
Yes.
Turned it from a match he was losing to a tech, and I mean that suggests to me that the weight cut, he handled that just fine.
And he's still got another week and a half till this one, and then however many months until trials. And let's try him again. I see him back there moving. Anthony, can you hear us? Take 2. All right, can you hear me now?
What's going on, guys?
Okay,
yeah, I can hear
okay.
you now.
Way better. I thought the whole show was going to go that
Yeah.
bit. Okay, so
Yeah, you would have been able to pull it together.
sure. We've done the card like Zahid versus Burroughs. We've done the 8-man 195. And we did this RTC Cup. Maybe I don't know. Was there any of them that you, as a fan, enjoyed watching more?
Yeah, an athlete that grew up wrestling for his public school team and with his buddies that I grew up since I've been friends with since 4 years old, and wrestled with the same group of kids since I was 18, even through college with some of them. I would love to see more dual meets and more dual tournament champions, whether it's NCAA or freestyle wise, whether it's starting to create more freestyle. And we have them, whether it's cadet duels, schoolboy duels, junior duels, and RTC duels now, and World Cup duels. And I think making those tournaments more of a priority, maybe, or making them more of a showcase event where we did with the RTC Cup, and it was kind of thrown together late and kind of sporadically. But I think putting a focus more on tournaments like that would be awesome.
Yeah. Talk about being a part of a duel. I'm guessing Rutgers is the last time you probably wrestled a duel, but versus going to an individual tournament, whether it's like the World Team Trials or NCAAs is a little different. But talk about the differences between sitting on a bench and being part of a duel and like just kind of meandering your way through a tournament.
Yeah, honestly, going a little bit off of it here, but the biggest issue with me that I had with the RTC, kind of how it is as a senior level athlete since leaving college, is like you're very individualized and you become kind of like a team of your own, whether it's you're looking out for yourself or you're just making your own schedule or you're getting your own workout partners. And for me at this next level, it's so beneficial to be part of a team atmosphere, or it was always been beneficial to me in my career to be part of a team, whether it's trying to out wrestle my teammate and my best friend next to me that's going out the weight class before me, or whether it's just trying to get better together and looking at the guy next to me like, hey man, like you did great, but like you're posting your arm there, you're letting the underhooks come in too easily, or like you just have a lot more accountability when it's like your teammate and your brother next to you than when it's just you're an individual trying to become an Olympic world champion by yourself. So I always really took pride in creating that team, and I create that team now, even though it is kind of individualized, and the preparations for me as an individual to be 65 kilogram Olympic champion, but I created a team around myself because that's how I function best, whether it's teammates, coaches, or just brothers around me. I just like that atmosphere of going to practice and having people around you at practice and having people getting you better and pushing you to the brink, and also maybe beating you up that day. And I just love the whole thing that that is required with the team, kind of the goals and the guidelines and showing up to practice on time and everything that goes with being a part of a team. I love it, and I think that's, for me, that's the structure I'll succeed in. So I try to surround myself in that anyway. But with these dual tournaments and RT duels, like you see it, these guys, the Cliff Keen guys can't stay off the mat celebrating for each other after big wins. Man, they're holding each other's back by the shirts, and like you see the pure excitement and emotion out of each other, just like when the other guys are wrestling and they're just watching, spectating from the side.
Yeah, that was absolutely one thing that stood apart from this weekend is these last few months we've had these events in this small room in this hotel here in Austin with no fans and no teammates, right? And it was a similar deal here, but you had like a line of benches on either side, and you nailed it, right? These guys are jumping up and down. They're like little kids, super excited. When you're watching a duel, like when you're in a duel meet and you're watching it before you wrestle, right? Obviously you're watching, but are you paying attention that much, and are you letting yourself get like emotionally involved, whether it's a win or a loss?
Yeah, yeah, I've been through a lot of different points in my career where you change that up. Like I wrestled in front of or behind Scott Delvecchio at times in the lineup, and he was a really exciting wrestler. And there was times I was 149 and Nick Soriano was 133, two weight class apart. But like there was matches he's wrestling Dayton Fix, and I got to wrestle G Feller 2 matches later. Like those are matches I'm kind of more staying in the back and kind of like not watching and putting my headphones on and not listening to the crowd, because I know going into a match like that, it's going to get emotional. There's going to be a lot of momentum changes in the crowd or a lot of loud moments. And for me, I'm really confident where I need to be stepping on that mat. And I know I'm not going to wrestle my best if I'm at a 10 excitement or a 10 nervousness, or like I try to rank it from a 1 to 10, and like kind of like 10 being super excited, nervous energy, but like really high upbeat, and being a 1 being like super relaxed, really mellow, like not caring in the world. And like me, I perform best at like a 6 or a 7, maybe even a 5 sometimes. But if I'm in the atmosphere of Nick Soriano versus Dayton Fix, and I'm getting in the middle of that on the side of the mat, like I'm going to be at a 9 or a 10, because I love my teammates. I love Rutgers, and I want to see us beating Oklahoma State. But like I know that about me, so I'm in the back kind of listening to more country music and stretching out and just repeating to myself little phrases that'll keep me in the zone. And then I take the mat when it's time, when the coaches come back to me, and like 2 minutes left at 141, I'm like, all right, now it's time to kind of ramp that level up a little bit, let myself hear the crowd a little, and get going.
I think you said I have my headphones on, listening to country music, telling myself things that'll pump me up or something like that. Can you tell us what you tell yourself or what you say to yourself?
Yeah, I said telling myself things that like more like not to pump myself up. I'm telling
Keep
myself things more like to keep me like in the zone that I know I need to
I
be
was
in.
saying.
And for me, it's little things like move my feet, make sure my like Thomas Gilman says it after every match. It's like as long as my feet are moving and my hands are heavy, like I know I'm gonna wrestle well. Like he's not thinking like I'm gonna go shoot a single leg, I'm gonna go shoot a double. He's like move my hands, move my feet, and that's like similar stuff I'm thinking. I'm thinking be fast, be strong, move my hands, move my feet. You outworked everyone. Like you did the right things. Like you trained your hardest. And then when it's like real nerve wracking and you're really doubting yourself, sometimes I'm thinking about those times. Like, all right, we ran stadiums Friday a.m. every Friday a.m. for months. We did this, we did that. All right, you're good. You're confident. Move your hands, move your feet. You're strong. You're fast. You worked your whole life. Like, all right, let's go. It's go time. And then it's like you just have little. I think everyone should have their own little phrases, but for me, the ones that really help are just like moving my hands and moving my feet. It sounds real silly, but those are like the two that I know if I'm performing my best, I'm doing both of those things. And it kind of breaks my wrestling down to very simple terms where if I'm moving my hands, moving my feet, the rest of the stuff's going to take care of itself.
Do you ever remember an instance where you let yourself get too amped up or you were too calm, where you watched Del Vecchio or Soriano and they won or lost and you got too emotionally whatever, and maybe that did affect the way you wrestled, or it could have been anybody else. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. After I wrestled Kolodzic and at Rutgers at the rack, I beat him 10-2 when he was number one and I was number two in the 2019 season at our dual meet. And then
Yeah.
the next week we wrestled Indiana at Indiana, and I wrestled the guy that I forget his name right now, but he was pretty much beat me the whole match, and I got questionable back points out of bounds to win the match. And I was definitely out of bounds, but the ref like kept us in, so I ended up winning 8-7. But like that match going into it, I was super calm. I was draw. We drew out a hat, and I was the first match, and it was right at the match after Kolodzic, and I just came off a great performance versus the number one guy in the country, and I was kind of thinking I was the shit. Like I was like I not that I needed to get really excited, but I was so calm because I was so confident, and it was a humbling experience. Almost losing to Fernie Silva was his name. Almost losing to Fernie Silva, who was a great wrestler, and I'm not putting him down at all, but it was just I wasn't. I was at a 1 or a 2, because I was so relaxed and so calm, and I didn't get a great warm up in because I was the first match, and I wasn't prioritizing getting a good warm up in because I was so confident and overlooking them a little bit, and that was immediate instance, like going from being in such a good spot versus Kolodzic to such a bad spot versus the next kid I wrestled, Fernie Silva, who probably was lower ranked in the Big Ten at the time and in the country, which is funny, like going from wrestling the number one guy,
one of the lower ranked guys, and you got to have the right headspace no matter who you're going against, especially in the Big Ten, especially in Division One. So that was a big learning experience. Even though I won the match, I was like, all right, like you need to be ready to go no matter who it is every time. And going through training now for this tournament has been a huge test of preparation, because I've been visualizing wrestling in an empty arena in a little convention center style room like you guys have set up with that one mat. And it's where is your headspace going to be when you're entering the mat? There's not going to be a crowd. There's not going to be a lot of noise. You're going to be just mano a mano warming up with the other guy in the same warm up room. And like, how are you going to prepare mentally? And I've been taking that a lot more serious than ever, just because it's very similar to a practice room setting, whether you're going 30 minutes in practice and it's time to get 3 minutes off and come back and get a 6 minute live match. I'm preparing mentally in those 3 minutes like it would be stepping on the mat at the 8 man bracket. So I'm really confident where I have to have my mind at when that whistle blows, ready to wrestle in that first round. But it's gonna be little adjustments like always, like whether it's an adjustment to bring that level down or ramp that level up, we'll see. But there's always gonna have to be little adjustments.
Sure. What'd you think when you heard about this 8 man bracket, and how has your training, I guess, changed, or like, now you have like something you're actually training for, right? Instead of just kind of going to practice.
Uh, it's changed in the way that it's made it like exciting in the way that we got a competition to look forward to.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, like we talked off air before this, and we're not if we're no dummies, like we think about who's going to be seeded. If it's seeded, what's the 1 through 8 seeds going to be? Who am I probably going to be wrestling right away? And let's gear up a little bit more towards those guys. But in the same fact, we're looking at Jordan Oliver every day. We're looking at James Green every day. I'm looking at Bajrang every day. I'm looking at Yanni still, even though he's not in this tournament. And I'm looking at Zane and guys like that, as well as the guys in the tournament, because my goal is to be 65 kilogram Olympic champion. This tournament, really, as much as I want to win and beat these guys, it's preparation to be the Olympian at my weight class at 65 kilograms. And I'm looking to make a big statement and go out here and dominate versus the best guys and the best competition. So, it's just been like super motivating having this on the calendar and having the names that are in already, just to, whether some of them I beat, some of them I lost to, some of them I never competed against. It just, for me, I'm like, let's go. Time to show you're the man. 65 kilograms. This is your weight. You're the guy. And those are kind of the thoughts I've been having coming in the door every day. I'm just excited. I'm working on a lot of different things that are fine tuning my strategies and my techniques, and I'm building every single day, and I feel really good. I feel like in a better spot than I've ever been technically and physically. And it's kind of crazy. Like I definitely feel a little bit older, but I feel just better than ever. And it's amazing feeling, and I'm excited, and I go home and I'm smiling about whether practice was good or bad. I'm just smiling about the opportunity that I have, and I'm super grateful for it. And like life for me right now is just everything I could have possibly imagined. Like I'm pretty much a professional athlete. I get to do whatever I want every day, which is wrestle and train and watch film, and I get paid for it. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah. The only new results we got for 150 is James Green, right? And we didn't know whether or not he was going to look good or bad. But he came out and he wrestled every match at close to down to weight. What did you think of James down there?
I thought he looked great, and I mean I want these guys best. I want their best, man. I want Jordan Oliver's best. I want him to have a great weight cut, and I want James Green to have a great weight cut and feel great, and I want to beat him at their very best. So I'm excited that he looked good, and I'm excited that he wants to take the challenge and come down. And a little bit of me, I'm going to be honest, I think he's coming down because he's scared about going 74 kilograms, about not representing the weight. Like maybe he feels he can't beat Dake and he can't beat Jordan Burroughs, and if he feels he can't be the best in the world at any weight class and he has to cut a little extra weight, like that gives me confidence. That gives me confidence that he feels he has to drop down to make a team because he feels he can't win up there. Like I'm as good as I'm as good as those guys. I'm smaller. I weigh 155 pounds, 65 kilograms my weight class. So I'm confident if I weighed 180 pounds, I'd be confident that I'm going to be the 74 kilogram Olympian. And to me, him dropping down shows a little bit of weakness, and I'm excited about that, about him thinking that he's just going to come be a bigger guy and take it to maybe smaller dudes or just be better because he's the guy at the weight class above us. And that's not going to be the case. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited that he looked good. It was a 3 hour weigh-in, just like we're going to have at our event, 3 hours, 150 pounds. But the second day, he definitely looked a lot better than the first day. So we'll see, man. We'll see at 3 hours on the first day like it was. Um, but again, on top of that, the Olympic weight 65 kilograms, 2 hour weigh-in. You're making 143 point whatever on 2 hours. So that's another whole 6.5 pounds. So it could be interesting, but it's not even a true test of what he's going to have to do. But it's awesome. I want his best. I want to be the best in the world. I want to build a legacy for myself. And this is part of it. This tournament's going to be a great challenge, and I'm looking forward to it.
you've wrestled James twice. Once was at Beat the Streets. Once was at, I think, was it World Team Trials or Senior
Yeah,
National, something like that.
probably.
So two different weights. How did he compare how he felt physically in those two different events, and how you think he'll feel physically at 150?
He felt great at both events. At Beat the Streets, he felt great. He took it to me. I definitely wasn't the most confident at event. Like I was really excited to wrestle in the event coming off NCAA championship. I wasn't that confident because the weight class was about 158 or 160 pounds, and that's less than I weigh naturally. But I wanted the match, and I was excited about it. And he went up 8-0, and I came back and ended up losing 8-4 in that match. But I kind of felt like I got dominated, and he was the better wrestler that day. So really, until the senior trials, which was about a month apart from that event, I was training for him. I was excited to get another opportunity to go get his spot and get that match back. And I made it to the senior world team trials finals against him, um, and he felt way different. It was a 154-pound weight class that day, 70 kilograms, and it was a 2-hour weigh-in, and it wasn't a night before weigh-in, and I felt just as strong, just as big as him, but he was still the better wrestler at the time. I got to a single leg, and he defended it, got me in a leg lace, compromised my body position, and I ended up having a knee injury because of it. So he was definitely the better wrestler still, but feel wise and feeling him from those two different events, I felt the difference in him dropping that weight and having the difference in a 2-hour weigh in between the night before weigh in. So that got me excited. Even feeling that, I was like, I'm excited. Next time I get to wrestle this guy, even if it's at 70 kilograms, I know I'm in this match. Like, there's no confidence issue anymore. Like, I know this is like, he's not going to bully me. I'm just as strong. Like, let's go. And now that it's 150, that just gives me even more confidence in that fact. It's time to go get my offense going now and put some points behind myself and put myself in a position to dominate him and that result around, or those two results around.
You never wrestled Bajrang, have you?
No, no. And I competed at 70 kilograms mostly since going 149 in college, 70 kilograms at two Pan Am championships. Um, so I've been not really competing against the group of guys that I'm going to be in against at the 8-man bracket, besides like Pat Lugo, who was 149 for Iowa. I wrestled Evan Henderson in college at 141. But most of these guys I haven't competed against because I've been a weight class above them.
Do you? I'm sure you're familiar with most of them. Since this has been announced, is there more emphasis on maybe watching film on some of them, or being more aware of who they are and how they wrestle?
Definitely. I was never huge on watching film in college and in high school. I liked what in high school and college, I'd say I'd like watching my favorite wrestlers a lot. Like even going back to watching John Smith and Kel Sanderson and David Taylor's and different guys around my era that I looked up to a lot. But since graduating college, it's been such a shift to being comfortable with my own wrestling and to wanting to be the best in the world and really dissecting my own wrestling and my opponents at my own weight classes wrestling. And that's something that's really been a change for me because I've always been a little bit nervous and a little bit tentative to do that because it always made me feel uneasy and it always made me feel like unsure about my own wrestling or my own tendencies and my own techniques. And part of that was probably just not being all in all aspects of my life about wanting to be the best in the world. And now that I feel like everything's kind of shifted towards that focus, like it's the easiest thing to do is to watch myself practice. I film every single practice and I watch most of them because I want to know what I'm doing wrong, how I can fix it, and how fast I can make those adjustments. And if it's Tuesday to Wednesday and I can make an adjustment from Tuesday to Wednesday, that's great. Like that, there's nothing better I could really ask for. I mean, if I take my freshman in college self to get me to watch maybe a live go of my practice or a match from a dual meet, like that was hard for me to sit through and watch. Like you had to probably set a time where I'd sit with a coach and watch it because I was a little nervous to go do that on my own or nervous to watch myself go back and watch and wrestle or watch myself win, hold on and win by a point or lose or not wrestle to my potential. And at this point in my career, it's like, how do I unlock those codes? Let's go back and see this. Like, how do I get better here? How do I do this better? Or there's a million things that I'm looking at, and um, I'm kind of just obsessed right now. Like whether it's this tournament that's gearing me towards that, or just wanting to be a world and Olympic champion, and the best in my weight class in the world right now. Just those are the thoughts I have daily, and looking back at film, whether it's other guys in my weight class, I'm looking at them wrestle at this weekend at the duels, and I'm like, well, I could hit this, I could hit that, I could stop this with that, and those are the thoughts I'm having every single day.
When you say you film your practice, do you you put a camera in the corner? Do you put your phone there? Is somebody actually filming you with a camera or a phone, or is it all practice? Is it just a live go here or there? Or I'm curious.
The whole practice, just right off.
Whole practice.
Mm-hmm.
Back to where we started the show. But all right, well, this is good stuff to know. And he's ready to rock. Interesting that he films his practices and watches it. And I know it's like the idea of like watching myself hold on and win by a point, right? Those are matches where you don't want to watch that. Nobody wants to see themselves struggle to hold on and win by a point, but it's probably necessary so that next time you're in that situation, you're like, oh crap, I don't want that to happen again. Let's like march forward and close this match out.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think his preparation, it just shows how he's approaching this event. It's different from how he used to approach wrestling, even back when he was in college, and really that's when he's wrestled most of these guys besides James. The guys that he has wrestled from here.
Who has he wrestled?
So he wrestled Joey McKenna in NCAAs in 2016, and then Joey won that one. He beat Bryce Meredith in like a crazy physical match at the All-Star Classic. He beat Pat Lugo in an overtime match in a duel in college. And I think his senior year.
Is that when Pat was at Iowa?
At Iowa, yeah. And then he beat Evan Henderson in Journeyman way back in 2015. So, yeah, some folk style results, but like not only were those a long time ago, they were in a different style, and it just seems like his approach has been kind of revitalized. So it's almost like with Anthony, you kind of not throw the results out, but sounds like a new guy and a new style for sure. So very curious about how that plays in.
Yeah, and the whole situation is different, right? And he mentioned at the beginning of the show, like, and I think he preferred more like the whole team atmosphere where everything's structured and together in college. It's much more dialed in. Micromanage isn't the word, but it's closer to the right word. Mm-hmm. Whereas post college, they just kind of let you do your thing and figure your workouts in on your own and do what you got to do, and a lot more individuality and probably ownership over your career once you're a senior level athlete.
Yeah. And I remember, last time we had him on, I think way back in March, he was talking about, we broke down his college career, and he talked a lot about his goals, and so much of it was centered around, being a four-time All-American NCAA champ for Rutgers. That was the focus. And now you hear him talk about world champion, Olympic champion, and until you really buy into those goals, it's hard to kind of start seeing the progress towards them, and he's bought into that now, and it's a different, very different kind of frame of mind, I think, for him. The other thing, if we get him back, and who knows if we will, but if we do, one thing he said early in the interview today is that he knew that he needed the team environment, that he needed a team, but you don't have that at the senior level, so he's built that team for himself, and I'm really curious about what that looked like, what that process looked like, and when he knew that he was going to have to build a team around himself. So if we get him back, I would be curious to think about that. But I don't know if everybody like has that revelation, all these senior level athletes.
I don't know that either. I think a lot of people that I just going through the motions isn't the right word, but kind of, right? Okay, I'm here and now I got this. But Anthony decided, no, I need probably the structure. I need some structure around me and just doing what it takes, Yeah. And to the point, like a lot of people, I want to be a state champ. 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 And maybe not soon enough are they thinking about, I want to go to college and be an All-American and national champ, right? And then the same thing happened here. He wanted to be a four-time All-American. Well, it wasn't until he finished with that he started thinking about the next phase. But immediately, it's like he's world and Olympic champ.
Yeah.
Dreams since March. I think he was talking about that.
Yeah. Well, and the way that, I don't know, just the way that you go about accomplishing the state champ, NCAA champ goals, and the way that you go about accomplishing senior level goals is so different, right? I mean, we think about like a recruiting process from high school to college. You're kind of picking like, what system do I want to put myself into so that I can learn from them? And then you get there on campus and you're like following a coach or a coaching staff, what do I do? What do I do? You go to senior level, and it's now I got to build this whole thing for myself,
Just
right?
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're getting worked out. It looks like hopefully we'll have him back in a minute. And there's a couple more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about his current training situation. What Rutgers might look like. And he hasn't competed since Pan Am Championships, right? Back in February.
March,
I think it was the week before the games,
Mm-hmm.
the Pan Am Games, which kind of was right around the time everything got shut down back in just February?
I think it was first weekend in March. They were back-to-back weekends.
First weekend in March.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can't take two. Anthony, can you hear us?
Yeah, take two. Take three, really.
Take
but
this,
sorry about
technically
that.
take three. I don't even remember where we dropped off. You remember what we were talking about?
We were talking about film study and preparation.
I mean, where I left off, I was just effing myself for not having it on the charger.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, no worries.
But I heard you guys talking a little bit about last competing and training.
Yeah.
I mean, my last competition was Pan American Games. That was like same weekend as Big Tens in March.
Yeah.
But since then, it's just been grind of training, and I had a surgery actually. After I was supposed to wrestle in FloWrestling in July, so I had a little hiccup for that and a little minor procedure, and I was back on the mats in 6 weeks and just training for this event since then.
When's the last time you went this long without competing? Have you since your first wrestling match?
I can't remember a time where I haven't competed in this long. It feels funny because it doesn't feel like that. Like, when you're a kid and you get off in March after states and you kind of like play baseball or what other kids play other sports. But like for me, I always played baseball in the summer AAU. And then by the time September came around, it was time to get to wrestle again. And I was always like pumped, like to go to tournaments or like even get to go to summer tournaments when you're not training. And it kind of doesn't feel like that at all. It just because you prepare so much like a professional at this point that it just like it doesn't feel like I haven't competed in a long time. I'm wrestling matches almost every single day. It just feels like another day, and it feels like I'm gearing up for the national tournament a little bit. Like same kind of feeling, tailoring towards peaking and tailoring towards what kind of opponents I'm going to be wrestling. So it's exciting. It's exciting in a different way. Not exciting in a mental space where I haven't competed in a long time. Excited to prove a point. Excited to prove how good I am, or excited to challenge myself, and nervous as well. But turn that into excitement.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about something you said earlier, like way back kind of at the beginning of the interview. You said that since you transitioned to the senior level, you kind of had this realization that you needed to like build a team around yourself. You're not part of a college team in the same way. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that, about building their own kind of team around themselves. When did you have that realization? Was it right away when you transitioned to the senior level, or did it take some time kind of trying to do it on your own for you to realize like, I need to build this team? And then what was the process of kind of building that team?
It definitely took time. It takes time because you're just thrown into like, for me, like just not thrown into, by choice. You sign contracts and you place yourself in opportunities, and like you're just a part of whether it's New Jersey Regional Training Center, you're just part of the Penn State or Nittany Lion Regional Training Center, wherever you're at, you're just kind of a part of that team and you sign up to be a part of that. But like when you go from college to that, like for me in college, you're scheduled like your lift at 9 o'clock, your study hall, your tutor, your practice at 3, your private lesson whenever in the week at this time, like your film breakdown at that time. And when it became part of like the next level, it's just here's our 4 practice slots 4 times a week, and everything else is kind of on you. Whether you want to do physical therapy, whether you want to go rehab, whether you want to strength and conditioning, like nobody's holding your hand anymore and walking you through that process. And not that I needed my hand held and walk through that process, but for me personally, I've always been part of a team that it's whatever the coach says, you listen to him. And if you disagree with the coach, all well, you better put your head down and work as hard as you can. So he gives you a little bit different treatment or special treatment. And you better stand out in a way where you're working hard enough where you stand out, not because you're being the guy that's cutting the corners or slacking off. And that's just kind of how the high school was that I went to and how the rec program I went to. You just listen to the coach, military style, put your head down and work. And when I got to this RTC level, it was like a lot different in that way. Um, and I felt like it, for me personally, it was out of my routine, and it kind of made me go through the motions a little bit in a way, whether it was just showing up to practice and feeling like I wasn't getting the most out of it. But I just didn't feel like I was on that destined path to greatness for myself. And for me, I just needed a little bit more specialized work, and I need to feel like we were every day was purposeful, and every day we came in here, it wasn't just to come get live goes with other guys about my caliber. It was just purpose behind the work we were doing. And I think it was like a year into the process of being a senior level athlete where for me, I was just like, I need this many days on the mat. I need this many days strength and conditioning. I need coaches watching me practice telling me what drills to hit, or I'm not going to drill the same, or I'm just going to spar too hard, or I need this partner this day and a little bit lighter day this day. And instead of just putting my head down and working, it was for the first time, it was like, this is what I need. And I think it just took a little bit maturity. Maybe it took a couple injuries, unfortunately, but you figure it out and you get to the point where you feel most confident. And I don't think my structure, my routine is the best routine for everybody, but for me, it's what's making me most confident, and I feel blessed. And like I said before, I get to do everything I want to do every single day, and it's a blessed feeling and really grateful. I'm at the spot that I've always wanted to be at as a kid, looking up to other athletes in my position. Like this is the spot that I always wanted to be in, and now that I live it out and I get to live it out in a way that I want to, and that I feel like I'm giving 100% of my effort and my energy. Like it's really rewarding.
You said I had to build a team, right? Is that the NJRTC? Is that a collection of other people and support? What physically makes up that team?
Yeah, for me, what makes up that team is like different coaches, whether it's Reese Humphrey or Coach Donnie Pritzloff and Coach Joe Pollard and Coach Goodale and Coach Leonardis here at Rutgers. And what practices we're going to be on what days with what partners. It was more about, yeah, picking those coaches that were best for me and what days I was going to work with which coaches and what days I was going to do strength and conditioning with those wrestling practices and what days I was going to go to Thrive. You could see my shirt where I do a lot of rehab and different things with, because when you're an NGRTC or a regional training center athlete, you're not supposed to be using the school's trainers anymore. It's against the rules. So it's like
Yeah.
even those little things where you don't have to go do physical therapy, but like at my level, you want to be staying on top of the things that I've had problems with. So I do those things at Thrive, and just coordinating instead of doing it all on my own and not really communicating with each party. Now it's like, this is what I'm doing each week, and this is the schedule, and this is the coach I'm working with Monday, and this is the partner I'm going to have when I come in on Monday. It's not a guess anymore. It's not show up at 3:30 and get put through the practice. And whether it is still getting put through the practice, and I'm not like my own coach, but it's structured around what's going to make me most successful.
Do you
And
typically like?
I
Go ahead.
guess on top of that, I don't really want to put out there like the exact things I'm doing,
Yeah,
but
of course.
like I'm keeping it super vague, and I don't mean to do that on purpose. Like I do mean to do that on
It's
purpose,
okay.
but I'm just not really trying to like divulge our whole situation here at
Yeah.
Rutgers and NGRTC. But for the most part, through this training camp, I've been working with Coach Pritzloff and Coach Joe Pollard, and like today was a great day. I got to work with Tyler Graff and Coach Pritzloff, and it was just us three in the whole room. So it was awesome. And it's been a lot of days like that where it's me, Sebastian, and Coach Pritzloff, me, Tyler Graff, and Coach Pollard, me, Eleazar DeLuca, and Coach Pollard, me, Troy Heilman, who was a All-American at UNC, who I went to high school with, who now works in the area. Me, him, and Coach Pollard. Me and just Coach Pritzloff, and that's like when I say my team, like those are the guys that are involved in my team, and they're like doing. Oh, shout out Coach Goodale. How you
Hey, what up, Goody?
doing?
Go Steelers!
Go Steelers, they said. And those are the guys that have been like instrumental, and they're like, what do you need? And they're the guys hit me up on Saturday and Sunday planning for the week, like what are we doing this week, like. And it's been awesome because they're my best friends too, like guys like Troy Heilman and Eleazar DeLuca. They're not competing anymore, and they're like very involved in giving back to the youth and running practices, and they have their own lives, their own full-time jobs, and they're texting me on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like trying to plan for the week, make sure that they have time to give back to me, and it's in a good way, and it makes sense for my schedule, which is awesome, and I'm super appreciative of that. And at the same time, when I get to go with those guys, other than Tyler Graff and Sebastian, who are still competing, like they're trying to bring it to me too. When I get to go with those guys, the ego's a little bit down. The ego gets dropped a little bit more. So it's like really technical work and what we need to be doing and what kind of feels they need to be giving me. And it's been so beneficial for me to have that because I've been the kind of guy, like I said before, to put your head down and you go to work. And sometimes that leads to sparring a little bit too hard or maybe going live 20 minutes in for the rest of the time because you don't want guys getting to your legs or they out slick you one time and you don't like that. So it's really been like awesome because getting to go with maybe one of those guys each week or both of them for one day each week, it's been like so much more technical work and where I need to be getting better. And they've been giving me the right feels, and I'm really appreciative of that.
You brought up Donnie Pritzloff, and sometimes you practice with just him or just another guy. I'm curious, like, Donnie was a beast. We all know this. He's probably around 40 now. Does he still wrestle live? Do you go hard? Does he still have it?
Yeah. He's still all the above. He still got it. He still goes live. I'd say he picks and chooses his days a little bit more
Yeah.
wisely. But like last Thursday, it was me, him, and Sebastian, and me and Seb warmed up for about 20 minutes, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna go top bottom out, live goes," and he jumped in, and Sebastian was busting his chops a little, like, "Dude, you gonna warm up?" Like, because me and Seb are young guys, but we're like the grinders who are like coming in like black eyes, limping, and he like warming up for 20 minutes, and he's the guy like rolling out. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good," and we're like, "You gonna warm up at all?" And Seb's busting his chops. He's like, "Yeah, I warmed up on the foam roller." And me and Seb just look at each other, just like, "All right, like let's go." And it's safe to say, like we didn't really score too many points on him. Top bottom out in freestyle is a little tougher to score points on the highest level when you're starting there, but he's still got it for sure. And
Yeah.
the days that it's just me and him, or just him and another guy on the team, or him and a high level guy like Sebastian, like the kind of practice it is, it's minimal talking. It's you warm up until you're ready to touch each other, and then when you kind of touch each other, he's the kind of guy that says he's gonna work slowly into it, but he's like every time he's touching, he's like digging in your neck, like you think at first it's like, is that a massage? And like, nope, that's the pressure point. Like things like that. He's like pulling your neck down and like digging his fingers in like this part of your head, just like you think you're like warming up, but then all of a sudden you realize you're like, all right, like he's just working his way into physically abusing me.
That's pretty great. Yeah.
And he's the coach and you're clearly the athlete, and like we love, like I think most guys, I say we, but I say I, because I don't know about everyone, but like I love the separation where it's I'm the athlete, you're the coach. Like I respect him a lot, so when he kind of it's time to go with him, it's like you let him make the first move and then it's almost too late. So I've learned a little bit, whether it's like he starts doing that stuff where he's hit my hands in, I'm like, I'm right back. I'm like, all right, like we could do this. Two could do this.
Yeah. Like you mentioned before, right? You guys, it's just like slowly escalates, like just one touch,
Yeah.
a little higher, and then bam.
Yeah, with him, it's like that 10-minute mark, but he does a good job where right when it gets to be a little too much, it's like, all right, time to do technique. Like, let's do the same intensity, but starting on your knees, shooting on a single. Let's work on finishes on a single now. And this is the feel I'm going to give you, and this is the finish I want. So he has a really good feel of when it does kind of get to that point. Let's back it up a little and go into this.
Yeah. I guess let's talk for Rutgers right now. Do you have any idea what the college season might look like? If hopefully, I think it's going to happen.
I don't have much of like an idea other than what's already out there. What like they're gonna have dates where they could go compete, and they're also on those dates. I don't know how much you guys know, but they're figuring out situations where on those days that they'd be competing, they'd kind of have a side mat, like exhibition mats, kind of just flowing, like with backups and different starters. Say like Rutgers wrestles Iowa, like maybe Spencer Lee wrestles our starter and he wrestles 2 backups and gets 3 matches. So things like that, I know they're trying to figure out and trying to pick out those dates where they would compete, or getting different teams together in one spot for one date. And I know Coach Goodell and other coaches around the country and different clubs are putting together these cards before the date of competition. I think it's June 3rd right now. So June 2nd or January 3rd, sorry.
Yeah.
So time before that, they're trying to put these cards together real quick to get these kids even more matches. And I think some of the figures in Division One and that have a general idea of what's going on in this climate are uh, are a little bit nervous that it might be pushed back or canceled in general. And I think that's a fear right now in the wrestling world. And that's definitely like murmurs that I'm not hearing, but I just like get the sense like with all these events getting scheduled and more push to get more events, it makes me feel just nervous that maybe the season or the coaches kind of feel like the season might be getting pushed back or changed even more.
It's got to be weird, you know, specifically with that question of will the season get pushed back and whatever, being at the NJRTC where you've got guys from Princeton and the Ivy League's already out, and then you've got guys from Rutgers and they're trying to figure out, you know, how to maximize this Big Ten schedule. Is it what's that like? Are there conversations in the you know in the RTC between the Princeton people and the Rutgers people about just how different those situations are?
Not really, because right now with COVID, it's so like Rutgers is like it's tight here, man. You can't get in. You like unless you're taking 2 COVID tests a week and passing them, you can't get in this building. So and on the same at the same point, I don't think we're getting in the Princeton building right now. So we haven't really been too much together with them. So there's really been no murmurs. I don't know about at the coaching level. Uh, but I still know like they're working. I know they're doing what they can and talking and hearing Kolodzic on the show, on your guys' show last week. I think he was on. Like they're definitely working. But me personally, like I don't do the best job, I guess, staying in communication with them. And I'm kind of in the zone right now, preparing for this event. So it's like minimal distractions outside of it. I have a really tough time answering people's text messages sometimes, or like just reaching out. And I need to get better in that aspect, but I'm not really too positive on what their situation is.
Sure. You brought up Kolodzic, and obviously, I guess you saw him on the show last week. He brought up the match with you, and he's like, that guy. He basically made it sound like you studied a film and you were ready for every single move. He was, you know, you were just super prepared for him. Is that accurate?
I, that's funny. I know I heard that, and I wanted to like tell him. I'm like, bro, like I didn't want to hurt his feelings, but like I didn't do that. Um, but it is what it is. I wrestled him 4 or 5 times, and honestly, I'm really good at it making adjustments when I wrestle a guy more than one time. And especially if you beat me or beat me like embarrass me a little bit. And there's one match he beat me at Midlands that he put me to my back in the first period when I believe I was a red shirt or he was a red shirt. Um, or he was like a gray shirt, not wrestling for Princeton, maybe before his freshman year. And he
Sure.
beat me at the Midland tournament and put me like a little cross knee dresser dump to my back. And that was really the match, me coming back after that. And I couldn't come back into it. But I remembered that feeling, and it's more like just those thoughts, and like I had a lot of fuel to beat that kid. And he's a really good kid, and he's a great competitor. But it was just that thought of like I didn't hate him, and I wasn't like looking to beat him up. I just really wanted to prove that I was the better wrestler, and I got to wrestle him in practice a lot of times, and I felt the same way. And I just felt like it was the buildup of that feeling. There was definitely things that my coaches told me, like on top, that pancake that I hit twice, like that was my coaches, like that was Coach Pritzloff. That wasn't me watching film. That was Coach Pritzloff like teaching me it and saying this might be there. He sits to his butt a lot. Got to explode to it kind of thing. And we went on. We didn't just go over that one way to suck. We went over a regular suck back too under the arms and like different ways. And it wasn't even something that we did hundreds of reps on. It was just like this might be there, and I was like, all right, like cool. And then I felt it, and I ripped it, and it was there. The other parts of the match, I hit an ankle pick to a double that I hit probably 100 times in college, and I was very physical, which I always am in a match, and I had a little bit of attitude. I pushed him out of bounds a couple times, which I always am. Those weren't things that I studied on him. that I thought would work. Those were just me being me just wrestling really hard. And I was telling you guys before, I was a little bit scared in college to kind of go back and look at myself wrestle or go back and watch my opponents wrestle. So even at that time, I still wasn't as prepared mentally as I am now to like sit down and face my weaknesses and look at my negatives about my wrestling or look at my losses and dissect them.
Yeah, when did you start doing? I remember when did you start doing that? I remember my coaches saying, "Watch the matches you lost. Don't." It's easy to watch the matches you won, right? Like,
Yeah.
when did you realize the importance of that, or hanging on to
I
a
always,
1 point win,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I always thought it was important and I always like wanted to do it and I did do it in college. I just didn't really put my full effort and it was always like nerve-wracking even when I did it. I'd say right after college, losing to James Green in the senior Shaw finals, I still was kind of going through the motions in that aspect of whether I was looking at the big events that were happening in world wrestling and flow wrestling and United States wrestling and NCAA. I was watching the big events, but like I wasn't studying the sport. And after those kind of losses and going to training camps with the senior level guys, being on the national team, is like seeing what some of these guys, some of their levels are of wrestling and seeing where their focus is and how they live. That was the big change for me. I was like, yeah, I'm about it, and I'm definitely more about it than most of these guys, whether I live the life or whether I'm all about being the best in the world. But there's another level, and there's guys that are doing more, and being able to see that firsthand was kind of like that was kind of the change. Like I take it personal when I lose a practice match and I walk out of the room. And instead of like taking it personal where it's going to beat me up all day now, it's like how do I get better from that? How do I turn that event around? How do I get better in that area? Um, how do I take practice for practice and separate that this isn't the real thing kind of thing. And I think that was a big issue. It was like every day it was like the competition and then every practice like to me like was the Super Bowl. Like I never want points scoring.
Whoop. Take 4.
Got me still.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm getting a phone call. Yeah, but I just that mindset was affecting me on watching film. I think that kind of mindset was affecting me watching film. And until I got out of that mindset where like I was going to get better at practice every day and learn from it, and then I really started dissecting it once I saw people um, like Coach Buxton and like I worked with Coach Buxton a lot as a kid, but like going to camp and like seeing Coach Buxton, Coach Zadek, and Coach Russell and those kind of guys that break film down religiously and they break down film just for practice. Those were the kind of things that turned the tide for me and made me really go all in on
Awesome.
watching film.
Yeah. Okay, we're running down to the end of the line here, but I got one little segment, and I don't think we were doing this last time we chatted with you. Two-part question or two different questions. You can answer either one first. I want to know from the first match you wrestled to the last, is there one win that stands out to you for whatever reason as a memorable win? It could be like a big win. It could be an upset. It could be beating somebody who beat you in the past. It could be whatever. And then is there one loss that stands out as just like the worst whooping or really bad whooping you took that just sticks out and it's just like, I just best win, not best win, worst loss, but memorable win, memorable loss. You can answer the one first.
My most memorable loss and win are the same guy. Like kind of back to back. When I was a sophomore in high school, I went to California for this like New Way trip, kind of dual
Yeah.
meet against Jersey, Michigan, California, maybe one other state. And I wrestled Zahid Valencia, um, Freddie Rodriguez, who was a beast. He was
Yeah.
returning. He was like the man at the time.
I remember.
And Zahid was only in like seventh grade at the time. So it was like us three were like the round robin of the day that I was at. And I wrestled Zahid first, and I beat him in a really good match. And then I wrestled Freddie Rodriguez, and I really didn't know him, and he tech falled me on almost like takedowns, like it was like 22-7, and I've never been beat like that in my life, and I was just remember like thinking like, who the heck is this kid? How did he score that many points on me? What just happened? Like I didn't even know. And it was one of those things. I wasn't even upset. I was just like, I need to get a lot better. Like I couldn't even compete with that kid, and I wrestled as hard as I could. And I ended up that was like July of probably 2010, and then 2011 I went to Super 32 at 112, and I got a rematch of him against him about 3 months later in October, 2 months later, and I beat him in overtime at Super 32 semifinals in a short span. I really closed that gap, and that was like the most memorable jump in my life. Just thinking about the work that I put in that time, and the technique was all there already, and the work ethic was already there. It was just little things that loss really triggered me to kind of get to that next level, and being able to go prove myself and like change that result so fast. Like for me, it was a jump start to my whole high school career. I was like, who can't I beat? Like, what else can I do? Like, if I work as hard as I can, I'm focused, and I know what I got to do. Like, what else can I get better at? What else can I improve on? What else can I go do in this wrestling career? Can I go be an Olympic champ? Can I be an NCAA champ? Can I be a 4-time state champ? And those were like the confidence boosters that kind of pushed me throughout my whole career. Things like that. I've had other really bad losses that stand out. I mean, you're only as good as your last loss. Like both of my James Green's losses stand out a lot. Logan Stever, I lost twice in college, which stands out a lot because he dominated me as a freshman. Those are two other ones that kind of stand out a lot.
Interesting though that it was like a middle school or whatever, round robin with Zahid and Freddie that like not catapulted your career, but it's to this point it still sticks out as memorable moments. So pretty wild. And we're obviously stoked to have you down here on December 18th in the 8-man 150 bracket. Any parting words before we let you get out of here?
I was hoping you were going to ask me what I was going to do with the $25,000.
Well, if you win the tournament, Anthony, what are you going to do with the $25,000?
Great question, Bader.
Thank you. My final question.
I'm gonna buy my girlfriend probably a really good Christmas gift, and then
That's a really good
and then
gift.
really good gift for my family members, brother, sister, mom, dad, maybe a couple godfather, godmother, uncles, and aunts. Good gifts there. Drop maybe a couple grand on that, and then I'm probably gonna save 15 grand. I was thinking about this. I don't know how much is getting taxed here, but we'll take that into play. And then the rest, I just kind of want to spend freely. So we'll see.
All right, man.
I'm thinking of trading my car in and maybe getting a little upgrade with it, but I don't know. We got to see where the taxes come out and what it looks like at the end.
Yeah. What kind of car you got? What kind of car
I
you
have
gonna
a Ford
get?
I have a Ford Escape and I want a Tesla. So if I trade my Ford Escape and I'm thinking I could get like 7 grand for it, on that's the blue book value right now. So 7 grand for that, and then you maybe like put another 5 down or 10 down, and probably get myself a little Tesla right now.
Anthony's gonna be rolling around Jersey in a Tesla. Dang.
I could just plug in Austin, Texas, right in the
Yes.
GPS and just
Yep.
kind of cruise down, put my hands back, let it
Yeah.
take me.
Absolutely. That'll be if and when that happens, we'll be here. So looking forward to it. I'm so glad I thought to ask you that.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome, Anthony. Well, appreciate you spending some time with us. I think it's next week. We'll see you next week when you get down here.
Couple days away, man. This
Awesome.
Friday will be a week away.
Yeah. Well, we're excited, man. Best of luck to you with the rest of your training, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No worries. No worries. Have
See
a
you,
great
Anthony.
day. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So, out with the RTC Cup, in with the 150-pound bracket. It's pretty exciting.
Man, it's awesome, dude. Like it's been like this now for a couple months, where one great event wraps up and there's another one right around the corner. I mean, eight man is kind of the last big thing on the schedule. I wonder if we'll have another event to announce before too long.
January would be a good month to do it.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you to Anthony Ashnault for joining us. Bray, it's always good to be back in the studio with you. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Let's do it.
All right. I believe we're going to have Trent Hidley on the show. I think that's tomorrow. We're also going to have Mason Paris
I'll be raising the roof.
and Jordan Oliver on Wednesday. So should be a fun show. But that's going to do it for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.